Hi, my name is Desiree, and I will be walking you through HMIS privacy and security. Let's get started. The objectives of this module include understanding program staff and HMIS user role in maintaining client data security and privacy policies, understanding the security and privacy procedures locally to ensure secure and a private HMIS. The 2004 HUD technical standards set forth expectation for privacy and security for HMIS. Privacy is defined as the control over the extent, timing, and circumstances of sharing oneself with others. Security is the means of ensuring that the data is kept safe from corruption and that the access to it is suitably controlled. Confidentiality pertains to the treatment of information that an individual has disclosed in a relationship of trust and with the expectation that it will not be divulged to others without permission in ways that are inconsistent with the understanding of the original disclosure. Privacy standards refer to the safeguarding of protected personal information in the HMIS from open view, sharing, or inappropriate use. Components of privacy standards include collection limitations, only collecting information that is appropriate for the purposes that the information is obtained with the consent of the client. Data quality. The data must be relevant for the purpose it is to be used for. Data should be accurate, complete, and timely. Openness. Be open with agencies, clients, and other parties about how you protect client information from unethical use. You must post a sign about your privacy policies called a privacy notice, and your privacy policies must be available to anyone who requests them, including clients and the media. Accountability. You must establish procedures for accepting and considering complaints about privacy and security policies and practices. It must require all staff members to sign confidentiality agreement. Per the privacy section of the 2004 HMIS Data and Technical Standards, inferred consent is the baseline requirement. This means that as a minimum, a client's consent to release information is inferred by your agency's privacy notice. However, you may choose to use an implied informed consent. In this case, verbal or physical consent is required. You may also choose to have a client sign a release of information. But remember, written consents are usually reserved for what you do with the data after it is in your system, such as sharing it with other agencies or using it for research. MO 604 requires a written consent for HMIS data entry due to its sharing. Privacy refers to the safeguarding of protected personal information in the HMIS from open view, sharing, or inappropriate use. Protected personal information, PPI, is any information that might identify a specific individual or that might be manipulated or linked with other information to identify a specific individual. Protecting client personally identifiable information includes handling client files, always keep files secure from unauthorized eyes, and handling client data. Faxing client data is an appropriate option. Discussing client data is an appropriate option, but discussing clients is never appropriate unless the email is encrypted. Security refers to protection of client personally protected information and sensitive program information from unauthorized access, use, or modification. All workstations, desktops, laptops, and servers that connect to a network that accesses or directly accesses the HMIS must comply with the baseline security requirements. The three P's of security management include products, physical security, door locks, intrusion detection system, and physical firewalls. People, personnel security, those who collect, input, or otherwise have access to data, and procedures, organizational security, plans and policies established to ensure that people correctly use products and access data. Login access must be secure for all HMIS users. It is your responsibility to keep your login private and not share with anyone. All computers used to access HMIS data must require user authentication, as in a username or password. Logging on to the HMIS computer alone is not sufficient. Username and passwords for the HMIS software should be different from the workstation username and password. Username and passwords should not be stored or displayed in any publicly accessible location. And HMIS usernames and passwords must not be shared. Hard copy security. Applicable to any paper or other hard copy containing PPI that is generated by or for the HMIS, such as intake forms, consent forms, or reports, must be supervised hard copies at all time when in a public area. This includes intake areas. And when staff are not present, hard copies must be secured, and they must not be stored or displayed in any publicly accessible location. HMIS security best practices. For HMIS users, having a unique username and password, an assigned receipt of a privacy notice. For HMIS computers and networks, they must be in a secure location, the workstation username and password, virus protection with automatic update, locking password protected screensaver, an individual or network firewall, a public key infrastructure to prevent unauthorized access, staff computers in public areas used to collect and store HMIS data at all times are protected. Enable password protected automatic screensavers when workstation is not in use. In summary, privacy and security standards within HMIS are in place to protect client personally identifiable information. Emailing client personally identified information is never acceptable without encryption. Refraining from using any PII, such as name and social, and an alternative can be used with the client's HMIS ID number. There are three levels of client consent: informed consent, implied consent, and written consent. And HMIS login information is unique to each user. IDs and password must not be shared with anyone, including employees at your organization. That is all for HMIS privacy and security. You will now take a brief quiz on what you've learned.